Okay, so Abhishek, I think I'm going to kick off the session with you. When you talk about stickers, I think half the audience here, including me, is going to think about WhatsApp stickers, emoji stickers, and keyboard stickers. But I think you've got a very innovative product in that you've got smart SIM card stickers from Taisys. Very keen to know what those stickers are and what you're doing, especially in the context of today's theme.
Hello. Hi, good evening, everybody. Yeah, first, thanks, Gaurav, for inviting us. And I think my half of the job is done by Vishal. Thanks for the really good data. So the data is same. Okay, he talked about the rural India. There is a positive side that so many people are already connected, but there is also a side that so many people are still not connected. And so many people are not still smartphone users. So as a Taisys, so the topic is financial inclusion basically, right? So from the Taisys point of view, financial inclusion is more into a social inclusion, that we should include everyone into the digital picture. So someone is using feature phone, someone is not connected, we should not left out. Let's take in those people as well. So the innovation is actually lies between there. So there are multiple applications of that innovation, but in India, personally, I bought that use case in India that why not serve for the people who really need it. So, we are technology savvy guys. We have so many applications. So I have Paytm, I have other competitors, right? Who is giving me the good offer, I will be, loyal to that. So I'm loyal to no one. But there are people who really need that. There are people in the Himalayas. There are people northeast. There are people in Assam. So in India, operators are trying too hard, but because of the physical structure, we cannot have 100% internet connectivity. So we want to serve those people. We want to bring those people into Digital India concept. And of course, we are working with teams, digital media friends, we all can work together to see how much we can leverage on the technology. So the idea is that how to bring them in. Now we talk about my product. So basically it's a smart card. It's a smart card with a very unique form factor, which is a thin like a paper. So if you put that smart card on top of the SIM card, the application or the small applet lies on that smart card can even work on feature phones, and it doesn't need internet to communicate. So we use encrypted SMS. So the same thing can be used in different use cases, but what we started as to use as a payments. So we want to work with cooperative banks or some tier 2 banks to bring all the payment services for all those peoples. They can do fund transfers, they can do top up their phone, pay their bills. So all of these fancy things which we are doing on apps, we are trying to do it on a feature phone. So that's the innovation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think you've mentioned something very good, which is financial and social inclusion. That makes me come to you, Sumita. You've been the face of Google for Internet Saathi. I think most of us have read a lot of good work that Google is putting into Internet Saathi. And when we also spoke to you, you were on one of the tours. Would you care to share some of the experiences that you've had and how you've made India inclusive, how rather Google has made India inclusive with the initiative of Internet Saathi?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir, my panelists here. So he spoke about something on how there are so many people who are still not connected and how technology can help them in a lot of ways for living a better life. We at Google kind of believe, or our mission is actually to kind of organize information and make it accessible and useful to individuals, right? We've seen this trend of a lot of new set of users coming online for the first time, accessing internet. We internally, or at Google, we call this something called as next billion users, which is the next set of billion users who are now accessing the internet. And they access internet very differently from what you and I do today, right? So how in India can we make internet an inclusive place for such individuals and bring alive the whole internet concept for them to live a better life? So that's our core mission in India and how we kind of make it inclusive. Coming to internet, Saathi, and something Vishal spoke of earlier today was the stark difference between rural and urban, right? We've also seen this in 2015 when we launched Internet Saathi. The reason we launched it was to kind of address the online gender disparity which exists. The iCube data in 2015 called out saying that only 3 in 10 women, 3 in 10 users in the online space in urban India was a woman. But in rural India, that was 1 in 10. So we wanted to kind of figure out how can we help address this challenge and make information accessible to each and every woman in rural India. So we partnered with Tara Trust and launched Internet Saathi in 2015. We've been in existence for 3 years, and we today cover like 1/3 of rural India, where we've kind of reached out to more than 22 million women across the country. We've seen very interesting stories, great impact. I can share during the course of the discussion later today. But that's one effort what we've done in rural space. The other thing what I said, and I spoke about the next billion user, this user is not happy to access internet in English. That's another story we've learned. Most of them want, or I cannot even read, write English, but access content in their own native language. So what we've done is our products support more than 11 Indic languages across like all our products. We have Gboard, which is an input mechanism in those 11 languages for users. So that's from a user story. But having said that, there is lack of Indic content on the web as well. So most of the content, what you consume today, like 90% plus content available is all English. So there's not enough content for these individuals in their respective language on the web. So what we've done in August this year, we launched a product called Navlekha. I don't know if you guys know about it, but it was launched during Google for India. And what it does is it enables a publisher to convert its printed article into a web-enabled format in less than a minute. Wow. So the publishers don't need to kind of spend a lot of time typing out those articles, because it's obviously difficult to type in regional languages, but simply pick up a PDF, use the tool, convert it into a web-enabled system in just less than 60 seconds. So the idea is to create an Indic web for the world. Then we also don't shy away from the fact that India is a very rich cultural heritage, what we have in India, and we have something called as Google Art and Culture, which basically where we partner with 50 plus organizations in the country, and we've digitized our heritage, like 250 plus monuments across the India, including Gateway of India, Taj Mahal, Lal Killa, all of that, all on the web so that it can be accessed anywhere in the world. So everything from culture to information is what we kind of, how we make inclusive. That's
fantastic. Brijesh, now I'm going to come to you. Vishal set the concept with, with numbers, the context was very clear. 110 million users, if I quote the number right, in rural. You've got hardware companies like Taisys doing a lot of groundwork in terms of, working on the infrastructure. You've got companies like Google and I'm sure Facebook as well, doing a lot of work in connecting and helping connect the... From a digital agency perspective, what do you think is the applicability to your set of clients, especially when you look at not even rural, but even tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4 towns?
Yeah, so very interesting, right? So I work with Paytm Mall, and I think they're very, very clearly where the target audience is not just people who are buying an iPhone, they're also people who are buying things for the daily needs, like it's just a small competition, Shop Clues, where the average ticket size is around $200. So the kind of shopping that is happening is very, very different. And even from a targeting point of view, right, I think the best part is that with digital, we can actually profile customers. So what people normally end up making a mistake is say that, oh, target Bandra. Bandra means you'll get all rich people. I don't believe. I think every alternate building in Bandra is a slum. So maybe, one building, one area in Bandra, I can target for selling a L'Oreal, but I'm sorry, but the other part of Bandra, I'll sell a cheaper shampoo. But they both need shampoos. It's not that they don't. Even the other part needs. But and the bigger mistake that I always see that people do is, if you're watching any Hindi content in Maharashtra, you're a Marathi. So they start targeting me and showing me Marathi ads. Now, as far as if I'm watching that on Z Marathi, fine, but I'm watching it on Z TV, it's Hindi, just show me Hindi ad. But people end up, showing me, just because I'm in Maharashtra, I am bound to know Marathi. So I don't get that. But that's what I've been seeing even online now. The content is Hindi, but the ad is Marathi, just because I'm watching it in Maharashtra. I don't believe that. So I think that change is happening, and now we can, because now we have data. So if we see a person on the Sony Live app watching a Marathi, content, play him Marathi. That's fine, and please don't dub it. there are versions to create it and things to change it. So that is the power now on digital. So just utilize them, which I think it's not happening. So
fantastic. So I think Srini, I'm going to come to you now. I think we've clearly seen two distinct Indias emerging. There's, on one hand, you've got the rural India that's still to be connected. A lot of work's happening there. And on the other hand, you've got a lot of savvy users in the urban part of the country. Right. When we were talking, you shared a lot of interesting statistics about transactions that you're having in these two distinct Indias. Would you want to care? Would you want to share the growth story of Paytm Mall, especially in the two Indias that we've been discussing till now?
Sure. So let me give a kind of a perspective, and then I'll kind of come to Paytm Mall. Paytm, I think, is not anymore an app. Paytm Mall also, we're trying to kind of create an ecosystem, because ecosystem, or I will call economy. So post demonetization, right? Paytm adopted or increased adoption for payments, because for commerce or payments to function, indeed commerce or Paytm Mall shopping, you need three key pillars. And I think all the panelists tried to kind of cover that with the data as well. So one is device data. The second is the payments financial services infrastructure to even go to rural or semi-rural villages. And the third is the logistics infrastructure. So data device is solved by Jio and Google and a lot of other players in various forms. And so people have the device and data today. The second is the payments and the financial infrastructure for merchants as well as for customers. And that's how Paytm came in 2014, digitalized QR as one of the medium to pay easily, and built a lot of not only just payment, it started as a wallet, but emerged into something called today financial services company. So where today, if I'm a seller in a village or a semi-urban village, I can even actually take a loan, or a customer can actually buy a product on an EMI. Think of it that way. So the second socket, what we kind of solved is the payments financial services through Paytm. The third is the logistics bit. So now Paytm Mall growth story started, where basically we believe that we want to kind of work with shopkeepers, smaller sellers, and these Paytm merchants in India. So every merchant in a way is a seller for me. That's the way we kind of are moving forward. Not just purely like Amazon or a Flipkart model where I just want to go online and sell, like an online commerce model. We're not going that way at all. We're not even thinking that. We are thinking that today Paytm has 8.5 million merchants who accept payments, from a panwala to a chaiwala to anybody, right?
How would that compare to, say, a credit card penetration?
So the POS machines would be 1.5 to 2 million POS active devices in India. So when I say POS devices which accept credit cards is only that. So now see the difference. So 8.5 million merchants accepting a kind of a payment will increase adoption for people to do a lot of use cases using a phone. True. Payment, shopping, checkout, and that's the way the Paytm Mall growth story started for us. And now what we are doing is basically we are kind of now moving towards signing up a lot of these local shopkeepers. So today we have last Diwali Dashara, we had 3 lakh shopkeepers participating on Paytm Mall. So when I say shopkeepers, these are like a Delhi, maybe a small Nagpur place selling televisions. They would be a kind of an authorized seller on Paytm Mall, and we immediately enable him to accept payments and also give loans to customers who come there.
Wow.
So I might not have a credit card at all, I might not have anything, but based on some history, that you would have, immediately loans are released with our associations with the banks and with Paytm infrastructure. And that's the way we've seen kind of adoption kind of growing.
So you've actually seen e-com taking shape in smaller towns, in tier 2, tier 3, and massive growth coming from there.
Like what Brijesh has pointed out today, urban is anyway there in terms of shopping.
Very right.
But for Paytm Mall, at least last month, I want to take Diwali Dashera example because that's where we've done like 5x of sales of a general month. Most of these users were coming from Indore, Hisar, very, very smaller towns, places that we have never heard of. Let me give you a statistic also. Groceries like Big Basket, what you see, is from 25 cities. In Paytm Mall, during last month, 920 cities traffic came to buy groceries.
Oh, wow.
And we couldn't deliver it. 920 cities. So it's a problem for us, right? But we've seen traffic coming from those places. Thanks to Paytm's base. Because Paytm has a larger base and these people are now slowly getting exposed to shopping. So maybe I'm using the phone to pay now. Then now these users are saying, oh, I can buy grocery now, so let me shop. So that's the first use case they started on shopping. So it shows very, a huge use case that 920 cities is
That's
a big,
massive, yeah,
is a big, skew in terms of how we kind of look at it.
So Sumita mentioned a very interesting thing that, you have technology now that you can scan a PDF and it actually becomes a web page. Are you, as Paytm or Paytm Mall, also doing things to address the vernacular requirements that people may have? Because from these 921 cities, you'll cut across a lot of geographies, topographies, and demographies and languages. So anything that you're doing in that area?
So we've launched now Paytm and Paytm Mall, the latest version, in 7 to 8 different languages.
I see.
So you can go to a Paytm Mall Android app, select settings, change to these 8 languages. The entire shopping experience, at least the keywords, I won't say the entire vocabulary or tonality, but at least the keywords would be converted into your local language. That's just been done last week. So that's the first step.
Wow.
So that the merchants who accept payments or the people who are shopping on Paytm Mall will see in their local language. That's the first step we have done. Still, the stats are pretty low in terms of people accepting, coming to languages.
Yeah, but it's a start, yeah.
But we enabled it so that people start seeing content. So for example, now I can actually compare iPhone 10 in Gujarati instead of, just seeing in Hindi or in English.
Yes.
That's one thing that...
Since we're talking numbers, Abhishek, you mentioned this SIM card sticker, thin like a paper that can sit on top of a SIM card. Works very well on feature phones as well as smartphones. Would you want to give any indication to us, the audience, as to how many SIM cards or other SIM card stickers, so to speak, do you have in circulation and how you think of this space growing in the future?
So globally, we are like 25 million users. So majorly from China. In India, we are just started, you can say. It's not much. But we have done pilots in different states. And around 100,000 people we are targeting actually coming 2 months. And our target for India is much higher than what we have seen in China.
I see.
Yeah, so in coming years...
So how long have you been operational in India?
So in India, 2.5 years we are here. So we were, working with regulators of India because, working in India is a little different.
Yeah, it's a little difficult, yeah.
But the good news is like now we have done with all those parts and now the real business is going to start.
Since we're on that, would you also want to give a perspective of which areas this SIM card sticker is being used, as in what are the focus areas? I think Vishal spoke about, the financial space increasing. I think Srini is very clearly speaking about the e-com space being pretty deeply penetrated. Are these the focus areas of yours as well, or are you focusing on some other areas?
Let me give you some examples like how we are using it globally, right?
Sure.
So in China, they started with payments, but then eventually they moved to e-commerce for the same sticker with the same audience. In Japan, they are using it as a secure element because this is a smart hardware, basically hardware secure. So Japan banks, they are very conscious about security. They don't allow fintechs to use, their APIs. So we become the aggregator of security. Every API is going to authorize through that sticker, and then it went to the bank. So different countries different use cases. In India, I'm of course starting with this payment things, but tomorrow we may be working with Paytm Mall or some digital marketing companies, you know, to
Good,
do
so we have a
several
deal on the
things.
table, Srini. You may want to network with him a little
Yeah,
later.
I mean, this is like we have a reachability. We can reach to the user. It depends on what use case we want to drive on. That's all.
Sure. I'm going to come back to the exact theme of today's panel discussion, and Sumita, I'm going to go to you for that. You spoke about how Internet Saathi has panned out in the last so many years. I'm sure you faced a lot of challenges. You as an individual plus Google as a company. Any jugaads that you thought of saying, okay, here is how I can use this jugaad to leapfrog from where I am to about 22 million women that you just said? Yeah, which is a huge number. Were there any jugaads that you did that, that helped you reach this number?
I actually wish to switch that word. I don't want to call it jugaad.
Sure.
I actually wish to call it enablement. It is the very fact that people in rural India have not had the access or the opportunity for say access to technology and even infrastructure, like basics of life, right? What we've actually done is enable them with the opportunity. And we kind of, the whole program was structured in a way that it was very relevant for the kind of audience we were targeting. So first of all, we kind of partnered. The first thing which we did was find the right partner, and Tara Trust kind of came in really handy here because they have the largest network across the country of rural India with their NGO partners and federations across the country. So getting the right partner has really worked us reach the masses. That's one. Second, as I said, language has been a key barrier, like communicating to them, talking to them. Our training content, we kind of actually translated into all the relevant languages, the states where we went to. So Maharashtra, Marathi, Telangana, Karnataka, we translated and trust me, I mean, and I'm sure Shreen is going to agree with me, this whole translation business is
it's
not
a very tough
easy.
thing, yeah.
It's really tough. So we actually did that and it resonated well. And third, the biggest thing which worked for us was the whole model was designed in a way that our information dissemination person, the person who kind of took the training ahead, was a woman from the community. It wasn't like hired professionals or teachers to go and train the internet, but a women from their own community who they could resonate with, understand, share their problems, the cultural issues which exist. Earlier in the room, we were actually discussing about how every state in India is different from one to the other, right? One is very, like Maharashtra is actually very progressive. Cut to go to Haryana, there women don't even show their faces. They're always in Gungat, right? So every village, every state has a different story. So picking up that women from that community and making her the ambassador of teaching the internet kind of worked wonders for us. So that model, I think, has been the reason for
Fantastic.
success.
Those are local heroes that you're really focusing upon and having local ambassadors that take that message
So
across
that's why they're called our
their community.
Saathis.
They're called?
They are called our internet
Saathis, right,
so
right.
we have actually 68,000 of them across the country today
68,000.
who are actually going ahead and training other women.
That's phenomenal. So this is the hard reality, Brijesh, that you've got language problems, you've got translation issues, and you've got layout issues on websites. But when you as a digital agency custodian are designing campaigns for your clients, when they expect certain things, in lower tier towns, I'm sure they place certain unreasonable expectations on a digital agency. What are the common mistakes or other incorrect expectations according to you that clients have that, when they need to keep these things in mind, especially looking at the backdrop and the challenges that this geography faces?
So I think one thing what happens is, which actually Vishal also showed in his presentation about television being the dominant player. So a lot of clients end up focusing on making and spending a lot of time in the creative for that television, but do not invest that same time into building a creative only for internet.
True.
Second thing also what works actually is if you want to really promote a brand on the internet, use an internet star, not a Shah Rukh Khan, but again the brand will go behind the Shah Rukh Khan and the Salman Khan because they're more focused on that television campaign and they want to put their energies into it, and they will run that one creative and they will dub it into different languages. You won't even feel that it's clear dubbing, where on the internet you can actually create separate creatives for different languages.
Sure.
So I think that's one thing we fight for, because they end up putting all of their energy into television and do not end up giving us, and knowing that 21 hours and 18 hours, I mean, you know, knowing the gap. So that's one thing that we are trying to, you know, help. In fact, Ignition Labs helps us a lot, the Google team, you know, where now we're working with the client and them closely, where we can do the creatives. And the good part is, you know, on the internet part, you don't really have to spend a lot to actually make the creative, because we can bucket, we can profile, and we can accordingly show the ad. So you really don't need to spend a lot of money to make a creative. It can just be done. In fact, we've done some case studies. We've made creatives. It's like a video voiceover and just the slides like an Excel sheet changing, and that's done well for us. That's given us a brand search increase, because we're talking his language. So if he is watching a Bhojpuri video, that ad is in Bhojpuri.
Nice.
It's just a voiceover. It's just images, but it's the same language, rather than just trying to put Shah Rukh Khan and talking in Bhojpuri. I mean, you've seen that happening, right? How does it work? So
Yeah, that's true. Another thing which I think was not very surprising in Vishal's presentation was that mobile phones, because of price and because of data lag, no, I'm sticking with you.
Okay.
I won't let you go so easily. Is that mobile still is a very important and a very critical part of communication. Any successes that you've had, especially in the mobile voice area, or specifically mobile that you saw that?
Yes, very recently actually we did a campaign in Bombay for a real estate player, and they wanted to sell houses which are 25 lakhs to 28 lakhs. That was the average ticket size. So we were very clear that who is the TG. The TG is basically a person who travels by train, travels by, and being a Bombayite, I know that if you travel by train and travel by bus, you have M indicator. And you don't use Google, you don't use Facebook, you may, but you definitely use M indicator. And so rather than going a straight plan, and rather than just having a Google Facebook plan, you know, the plan was more to target people, you know, who are using that app, because M indicator is almost used by each one of you sitting in this room if you're traveling by train and bus, because you don't want to get late to work, you don't want to get late to class, so you want to see the schedule. It really worked for us, and that was pure mobile-driven campaign.
Wow.
And again, the same thing happened from a language perspective, because we knew the TG. We targeted YouTube, and we filtered that with languages. So he showed that there is an era. I keep saying that after Christ, before Christ, but the digital era after Geo, before Geo. So it's just completely changed. In that, earlier, it's a complete flip side right now. Earlier, there was a conversation between a driver and an owner. The driver used to basically be down, and owner used to come up and start watching YouTube. But now it's the other way around. The owner is too busy working, and the driver is too busy watching YouTube rather than playing cards.
Very
so
true.
we now know who is watching what. So it's very simple. But the owner is also watching. So now you can divide that. So if he's watching a Marathi video, because our brand ambassador was Madhuri Dixit, and you know, so Marathi and Madhuri go like
Hand in hand,
very
of
well,
course.
very well.
So it's low cost affordable housing, right?
It was low cost affordable housing.
Yeah, yeah.
So we knew that somebody is watching a video in Marathi, somebody is watching a video in Bhojpuri, somebody is watching a video, I would say maybe not beyond these two languages, you know, are very relevant TG. So we blasted that on YouTube, and it really worked for us. So
Wow, fantastic.
That's
Abhishek, you
by
spoke
far.
about certain hurdles that you faced. You said, you know, that India is a tough market to operate, especially for banking, and we all agree, because we all know how tough RBI is, and I'm sure even Paytm, Payments Bank, face the same issues and still facing. Just keep changing. Yeah, now we know that eKYC norms have changed, and any successes that Taisys has had in terms of tie-ups or alliances, or any partners or any networks that you've been able to piggyback on?
Yeah, so soon after, you know, we got the green signal from the regulator, we started tie-ups. So we started with cooperative banks because they were the obvious choice for us. And now our target is like going state by state. So we want to digitize one state, then going to another state. It's a hard work basically because we are not Paytm. We don't go app with a pan India. It's more in a distribution channel, and our users they need some support because they are not that tech savvy. So we need to educate them. So we have to go in some plan, focused plan. So this is how we are moving now. So we are tying up with banks, but at the same time we are working with some very innovative companies in India. They are doing very good job, tremendous job in transportation. They are digitizing the whole arena. So we tied up with them now. All their customers is our customers. We are solving their problem. They are solving my problem. So this is how by one and the other smart tie-ups we are trying to cover. Yeah, this is how we are.
So you just mentioned data. That makes me come to a relevant point. This SIM card sticker of yours actually rests on top of the SIM, and you're actually in a way a mediator between the transactions that are happening between, say, the transport company and their customers. How do you handle data privacy? Does the client get to a little edgy that, hey, listen, you can't take my customer's database and
Okay, so we don't work like that. Basically, we are not getting any data. We don't have privilege to access data. We don't have privilege because we are not sitting in the application side where you can get to know everything. We are very limited data access, that to be mentioned by the user with the whole its consent that I am going to do this transaction. So we don't have such problem. Even though we are giving them a form to making sure that okay, this is how you are going to use your digital information, and there is a proper regulated method, so we are just following the same.
Fantastic. I forgot to ask you one question, Sumita, and luckily the hardware point brought me back. Is Google using any hardware in its digital initiatives, especially for Internet Saathi, or how are you going about that aspect?
So for Internet Saathi, what we do is that every Saathi we recruit, they given like 2 devices, a smartphone and a tablet,
Oh, okay.
And data enabled, where they given like a 2-day extensive training. So the insight clearly is in rural India, people were even scared of like switching on a phone. So the moment they switch it on, the light came up and I was like, what the hell is this? So it actually got into just training from basics and stuff, and we had to enable them with devices to kind of get fully trained on that and then spread it ahead.
Cool. I think I've got my cue that I need to wrap up. I'm just going to ask you one last question, Srini. Warren Buffett just invested in Paytm.
So happy.
Thank God you didn't say this is confidential news. But the stars look pretty aligned for you guys, and I think most of us have seen Vijay Shekhar Sharma's video, ecstatic video on LinkedIn and Facebook where he's dancing with joy. And why not? Any infusion of fresh ideas and impetus that you think that these funds will help Paytm Mall in its initiatives, especially in the 921 cities that you struggled with earlier?
I think with Warren Buffett, SoftBank and Alibaba, definitely we have some amazing partners. And I think that also puts a lot of responsibility on us, especially market, and Paytm Mall is committed. The future plan for us is to, like Sumita and everyone were saying, for Paytm is to bring the next 100 million customers to the digital mainstream economy. Is a very clear, big goal for us in the next 6 months. And that's why Paytm Payments Bank and all of these have started, because to bring those, and for mall is to kind of go local commerce. Because the number of online buyers in India are not more than 70, 80 million. That's a very finite base. And if you take active buyers, that'll still reduce to 40 to 50 million.
Sure.
Now, everybody's fighting for that small pie. We want to go local. And that's why the future plan is to kind of invest in offline to online.
Great.
So kind of enable these small shops where, for the merchant to kind of sell. So even if I have a 400 square feet store with limited inventory, you could do an infinite inventory using our app.
Wow.
So you don't need to store stock. So it's virtual. Now you can sell. And all the financial services are also on your phone. I think that's where we are already doing a lot of experiments, and you will see in the next 3 to 4 months, we would be going more local in that way.
Great.
I think I would say that's a big
Wish
thing.
you all the best, and Sumita, Wish Google all the best in the work that you're doing. Same goes to you, Abhishek. Same goes to you. Just like to sum up, I think it's been very nice having you guys on board. I had a few more questions, but I'm continuously getting glares from Garima. So we'll have to wrap up. Maybe we can take that discussion offline. And I believe that you have a flight to catch. So thanks a lot. On behalf of SP Jain School of Global Management, I'd like to thank you for being a part of this panel, and I do think that the audience enjoyed listening.